Welcome to the MIT Innovation Program podcast. This is a repository of insights by thought leaders and practitioners of innovation where they speak about their views, insights, and experiences. Come join us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to introduce our guest speaker, Ms. Meghana Pote from Product Innovations, Siemens, Germany. Meghana started her career as a software engineer in the IT industry. She has played diverse roles in the organizations she has associated herself with in the areas of technical leadership, project management, product management, innovation management in a multicultural, multilingual, and diverse environment. Her skills and experience in conflict management, business development, and scaling for competencies have accelerated the success of projects she has been associated with, enabling her to lead geographically distributed teams spanning across different continents, namely Asia, Europe, and USA. In her current position at an internationally renowned industrial application solution provider, she is responsible for stakeholder management and technology explorations for business and product innovations. Before we proceed to listen to Meghana, I have a few updates to share about the session and the MIT ID Innovation Program webinar platform. Firstly, today's webinar will have the speaker share her insights for the first half hour, followed by questions in the latter half hour. Next, we'd love to hear from you during today's webinar. If you have a question for our speaker, please feel free to share it as we move along the session via the Q&A tab. If we don't get to your question during today's webinar, we will surely follow it up with answers offline. This webinar will be available after the session on our various social channels. A mail to the same effect has been sent out to each one of you. The links have been shared on mail, as well as further details about upcoming webinars will also be available on our various channels. We encourage you to share today's webinar and its learnings with your social networks as well. This curated series on innovations will feature a variety of industry thought leaders, speakers like Ms. Meghana Pote, who are a part of the MIT ID innovation ecosystem. For those who are joining us for the first time today, I'd like to inform you that MIT stands for the 4-decade-old Maharashtra Institute of Technology. ID stands for MIT's 15-year-old Pioneering Institute of Design. MIT ID's one-year innovation program focuses on the 4 pillars of design, business, technology, and humanities. The key features and differentiators of this one-year course are immersions, project-based learning, and humanities. At MIT ID Innovation Program, industry and academia come together to create a new breed of comprehensive innovators who are informed by design thinking, influenced by future technologies and trends, and inspired to make their own mark in the global political, social, economic, and technological scenario. We welcome you all once again to this thoughtfully created and curated innovation journey. Meghana, warm welcome to you. Over to you, please.
At the outset, I would like to thank MIT ID Innovation Program for giving me this opportunity to share my insights. I will be talking about what is it that we, at this stage where we are, let's say, in a very dynamic situation, do to foster and fuel innovative spirit. And the context of this is not only focused to Indian scenario, but the global scenario, and we can look at this, how we can look at this. So like Priya has mentioned, I would want this session to be very interactive, and for this session I have we have some polling also. So I will start by sharing my screen, and then we can go in the interactive session. So once again, thank you, and I will now briefly discuss what the agenda is like. I would want a little more interaction with the audience in that I have prepared 2 poll questions. We will look at what is it from a consumer perspective, what is it that could change, and how is the dynamic nature of the consumer landscape changing. I would like to request Professor Desai to begin with the poll for the consumer landscape. Then we would go with the industry landscape. So here is the poll question. Yes, may I request the audience, the to participate, and please submit the queries.
The polling question is, which forces will dominate the consumer landscape in the next 5 years in India? Geopolitical dynamics, personal consumption patterns, technological advancements, or the changing consumer profile? Request you all to submit your answers.
Great. We'll end this poll and we'll share the results and we can proceed with the next steps.
Next
Yeah.
question. Okay, fine. So I see that almost 50% of the participants feel and believe that technological advancements will be the most dominating force to determine how the consumer landscape looks like, specifically to India for the next 5 years. Okay, and then the lowest is the geopolitical dynamics. Yes, this is pretty much what the analysts and forecasters are also looking at. Yes, this is the case. Okay, fine, thank you. So now I would like to proceed to the next question. We will take a look at what the industry landscape looks like. And for the same, we have one more polling question.
The question is, which of the following industry sectors may undergo a massive disruption in the near future? Will it be education, retail, medicine, or travel and tourism? Let's poll.
Yes, bingo, we are right on target. Travel and tourism, yes, that's true. Travel and tourism is the industry which is currently undergoing a massive disruption, whatever the factors that are. And also in the near future, we do see a lot of disruption coming for the travel and tourism. What this is something which I plan to discuss in the opportunity landscape today. And also I plan to discuss the medicine industry and the education industry. So I hope that this brings then more value to our discussion, because this is where we, from a industry perspective, can add more value in a proactive manner. So thank you so much, everybody, for your participation. Now I will go on to the next topic. These were the two questions which we have, let's say, got a pulse where we are right now. Okay, so I hope everybody is aware of the three circles: the why, the how, and the what, which Simon Sinek, who is a thought leader, talks of. So I have here, in a similar manner, structured my thoughts on the innermost circle, where we are talking about why we are doing this, why we are looking at what opportunity we have, and how we would like to tackle this opportunity in a proactive manner, and what are the factors that we can influence proactively. And the right slide here with the picture here is talking about where all it could apply. It's obviously an industry agnostic approach. So let me come to the inner circle first. We see that right now there is a lot of disruption going because people's behaviors are changing, whether it is buying, whether it is working remotely, whether it is spending, whether it is any behavior which was taken for normal is now being questioned, and we are retrospecting, rethinking to what we want to do in the coming years, or what we want to do right now and how we want to do it differently. This obviously is also making the business owners think and reevaluate the business models. When I talk of business models, it may be physical channels, that is a personal delivery to somebody, as well as online channels. It may be as simple as getting the boiler in the house repaired, when you can do an automatic complaint process, or you would want to call somebody up and the person is available or not available. So all this is making the business owners rethink on the business model. So this is one why which is changing. The other thing is the economic order. Before the current situation that is, we had a different outlook to look at countries. There was a different outlook to look at Asia. There was a different outlook to look at Europe. And now with the change in the economic order, the different situation we are undergoing, there is a change in how economics would look like. Also, let us not forget that there are some countries who are having an aging population. There are some countries like India who are having a youth population, more of a youth population, countries like Germany, where more than 20% of the population is 65. So the social restructuring is also happening. And because of dynamic factor, because of this why, we have now, and I certainly believe this is right now the right time to look into what opportunities are knocking our door and what could enable us to do this. The how, the tools, the enablers that we have could be technology, as we rightly pointed out, the tools and practices that we have, having a community where we can nurture our thoughts, where we can have a critical mindset and an innovative mindset. And what is most important is cultivating this mindset altogether. So with the inner circle, I talked about the why. Now on the outer circle, it's more about the how. Having the right mindset, having the right skill set, the tools and technologies, as well as the community effect, the ecosystem that we are. I mean, there might be a lot of ideas we have, but if the ecosystem that we are into, the community, the organization that we are into is not fostering it, is not fueling that curious mindset, then we may be we may not be fitting into that. And that is where we can look for greener pastures, where we can check, okay, what is it that I can do apart from my current profile to have an innovation mindset, to have a futuristic mindset. And that is where I talk about community, having an ecosystem to harness this potential in you. The what factor, like we saw that there is a need to revisit the business models, look at the changing patterns in people's behaviors. There is drastic need to look at what is it that we can save, or what are the opportunities that are knocking our door, be it in terms of efficiency with respect to products, costs, our time to response. A simple example with the time to response is any vendor which saves us time and which saves us the nerves to get our service done is, in this case, a process innovation. So when I talk of innovation, I'm not just talking about a product specific or entity. It could also be a process specific innovation, where we can talk about improving the response time, where we can talk about improving the effectiveness. We send out a lot of emails, whether it is advertising or marketing related, but we do not know as a person how effective that technique has been. And a process specific innovation on advertising or marketing could lead us to finding what is it that we can improve on the process to have an innovative mindset to bring more advertisement or marketing in the forefront in the current social distancing or in the future when much more of these practices will continue in the industry. Also, we need to overall check what is the current customer experience and what could be the futuristic needs to have a new market entry, whether it is in terms of the customer experience or also in terms of scaling our current product options that we have, or the current product portfolio into not just the new markets, but also retaining the customers, because a lot of, let's say, disruptions in the customer experience may make it possible that we relook what is it that we need to do to retain our current customer base. So let's now move on. So I kind of I would like to here once again reiterate that this is an approach to proactively look at what opportunities could be coming our way. Okay, and now let me take a quick look. I just talked about the theory. So now let me take a short, let's say, overview of what are the opportunities that could be as a product innovation officer, or anybody for that matter who is looking at the industry to see this is an unprecedented event which has taken place. It is not less than a war that we are going through with the remote working, with the social distancing. And this opportunity is something for which we do not have any business models. We would like to have them, but we do not have. And that therein lies the opportunity to know what is it that we can do to ensure that we have, from an innovation mindset perspective, we have let's say gone through the whole circle to keep our solutions ready, whether it is a solution space, a product space, or a service space innovation. Yeah? And I would like to again pinpoint on these three specific industries which I chose as, let's say, being most disruptive, where we could talk about innovation from a service, from a product, or from an offering with respect to the customer experience. So from the travel and tourism industry, what I can foresee or what I can envision is there might be in the future more virtual tours, luring the potential, let's say, travelers who would want to have, before they even visit the place, have a virtual experience of what the place looks like. This has currently not been in place. When we look at the operational excellence, there might be in future events, let's say Dubai Shopping Festival or even the Disneyland tour in Paris, where even before the children visit or even before the shoppers visit the festival, they might get a real first-hand experience to attract them to shop online, to buy online using AR events. And this might give them a virtual shopping experience. So the travel and tourism industry in this case will need that, I would say, ecosystem support. And how this can be done is only through the innovators who would be working on creating such tools, creating some world-class features into existing tools, and looking beyond the current needs of what the AR tools, augmented reality or virtual reality tools offer as features. And from the business model reinvention, I would like to highlight that any business model reinvention needs to be supported by the leadership, by the ecosystem, and it thrives on leadership coming into picture and driving it, or rather leading it from the forefront. So here, when the travel and tourism industry stakeholders, major shareholders come together and talk about reinventing the model, they could be in a could be a big possibility of having incentives given to potential shoppers or potential travelers in form of future travel plans that they can take up, and also cashbacks in case they decide to invest now or take up the early bird offers and invest for these topics right now, given the current situation that we have. From the education perspective, what I can really foresee is right now I have not seen any tool where we have any video content and special tutoring related features for the educators when they are talking about online delivery of their content. It may be as simple as a teacher who is sick and she is unable to take the lecture X in the class. And if there is a possibility to have this lecture as a video content, which another teacher could go through and deliver, this is something which is currently missing as tools. And we, from an innovation mindset, could look into these aspects. What is it that we can proactively work on to make such a feature and such a tool or a product available, not just from a tutoring perspective, but also India has this diverse language specific need, which is currently untapped. And in the education sector, a lot of, let's say, regional content is or English content is not available in regional languages. And here lies again an opportunity where we can talk about enhancing the customer experience in that specific language, When we talk about operational excellence from the education sector, there could also be more features and tools which will enhance the student-teacher engagement, whether it is involving AI features or whether it is giving the student, let's say, a virtual device where he understands how the digestive system works, or the teacher a possibility using the virtual reality experiences to understand how he or she can bring to life a certain subject in the field of geography or chemistry or biology at any level where the teacher has the subject matter expertise. And from the business model perspective, I see that there is this disruption, definitely with more and more classrooms going online. And could we, for the future, look at a university which has common labs and common labs or virtual rooms which can be rented out by different institutions? So this will also save on the real estate, the cost on investment, and I feel that this is some opportunity which has not yet been explored in the Indian scenario. We have talked about a lot of infrastructure investment for institutions in the education sector. However, this could open up a new range of qualitative content as well as a minimalistic real estate setup, and I think this will be a major breakthrough when this takes place for the Indian scenario. Coming to the medical sector, I know of I know of a lot of health apps which are currently available, which are also needed from the Fitbit kind of apps. However, there are no apps right now which are from a government perspective as prescribed. We could, instead of going for the Fitbits that we have from an Indian perspective, look at the proactively developing health apps to address the most important uh, 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 diseases, or to address the most important problems, be it weight loss, be it diabetes, or anything specific that we have from the Indian perspective. And this could in the future get recognized as or get subsidized for use by the general public. So this is one opportunity area which has not yet been explored and could be a big possibility for the future. Also from the operational excellence, there has been a lot of talk about virtual reality through virtual reality devices to do the operations. And this helps not only the medical practitioners, the surgeons, but also this will be a big breakthrough for the future medical science students to have a precision oriented surgery, as well as it will also help them harness the nuances of what it means to undergo these surgeries. A lot of experience has been put in by current surgeons to master these skills, and I know that with this virtual reality devices or the sensors that will come into picture, the software that will come into picture, this mastery can be achieved in a shorter period of time as compared to the earlier generation. So here is where in this sector we can harness the technology advancements to improve the operational excellence. And last but not the least, what I know is in India we have a lot of focus on health as being healthy, be it through our own practices, our own let's say physical practices, physical exercises that we do, or any spiritual practices that we do. So I think right now also is also the time to relook at the model. We have not been incentivizing health as well as fitness, and once we start intensivizing this aspect in our health industry, in the medical industry, we will see a new range of innovations coming up to know how is it that I can proactively be fit and healthy, and thereby reduce the cost for me as a person or for my entire family. And this could lead us to a healthier, not just a healthier, but a fitter and a more achievable mindset. So these are the I would say this is how the landscape looks like. There are many other industries where we can put a lot of thought, or we can just do a brainstorming session to understand where the market could lead us to. And I would be open in case you have any specific queries on any of the topics I have spoken to deep dive or answer your queries in the Q&A session. So let me now move on to the next. So I talked a lot about mindset, or sorry, I did mention a lot about the technology and the landscape, but I have not yet talked about the mindset. So for the mindset, I have a 3C formula, or a 3C uh, takeaway for you. Uh, this if you have a different mindset, you will have a different outcome. This is something which Jack Ma has said, and we know how he has succeeded with the Alibaba. So what my 3Cs for the mindset development, for the mindset nurturing are that we come from a space of contribution wherever you are, be it a person who is expert, be it a person who is just a starter, a budding one. We come from a space of contribution, and we nurture the ecosystem that we are into, because this is the most crucial backbone that we have currently when we look out, when we start with the innovation mindset. So this feeling of contribution is very, very essential. When we come from this space of contribution, then having that curious feeling, or the curiosity, what is it that we need to do, how is it that the ecosystem is working, and having a system where you can network with mentors, where you can be authentic, where you can ask them, and uh, 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 just being open to the idea of thinking differently. A lot of people say, let's think differently, let's think out of the box. But how is it that we can do? So here, from my own personal experience, being the curious nature, it is when we have, everybody might know how Archimedes hit upon the Archimedes principle. It was when he relaxed, when he was his own self, that this creative idea of how he can think the gold crown to be weighed. When he relaxed, when he went into the bathtub and the water fell out of the bathtub, that he realized, okay, how is it that he can crack the problem which the king had given him? So with the curiosity mindset, it's I would say the part where we as a person need to be relaxed, to be creative, and then network with the mentors or the community at large is also very, very crucial. And last but not the least is that conviction that we would like to make a difference. When the conviction you have, when the conviction is so sure, then I would say that there is nothing but we cannot stop but being natural about and being authentic about where we come from, what space we have. So these are the 3Cs, I would say. A person who comes from a contributory mindset, has the conviction, and is curious to make a difference, he will definitely succeed. So these 3Cs, I would say, sum up my takeaway for the mindset development. And my final thoughts for today for the fueling and fostering is, let's fuel this curiosity in us and foster open mindset. And important also is to fit in the ecosystem that we are. Most times we are in denial of the ecosystem, and we cannot agree to what the ecosystem is offering us, be it a disruptive or be it a very complacent change. And fitting into the ecosystem, understanding the ecosystem is equally important. And last but not the least, our focus on the community at large. Because without the community support, without the support of where the need comes, where the consumer is, we cannot be ready for the future. So this is my final thoughts on how we as individuals as well as a community can foster and fuel innovations. I am
Thank
open
you.
to questions. Yes.
Sure. Thank you so much, Meghna. Uh, you've studied computer engineering and then followed by multiple certifications in project management, scaled agile, DevOps, and of course the
Yes.
German language as well.
Yes,
What
yes.
would your advice be to students and working professionals about the need to, learn, reinvent, and keep innovating constantly?
Okay, so here I would say two aspects are important. First is having a short-term vision. Yeah, and in the short-term vision, I would say doing a SWOT of where you are right now. It is also to identify what you are good at. Most times we want to be somebody who is whom we for which profile we do not have the strengths. So my advice is look at the short-term goals. And in order to achieve the short-term goals, do a SWOT of where you are. Uh, Build on your strengths, and whatever necessary is there to achieve your long-term goals, invest on that. Yeah, so for example, a student who is very passionate about the automobile industry, he might say, okay, is this the right time for me? So that could be his long-term goal, but for right now he could hone his short-term goals, in which he can adapt and reskill himself for the required skills. So for me, being in the product innovation was not a choice. It happened to me. I was from my profile a pretty open person to exploring new topics, and that is what led me step by step. I did not envision to get into product innovation or innovation as such. The journey led me step by step into innovation. So I would say the two things: look at the short-term goals where you are, build your strengths, uh, and then look at the long-term goals, which will be driven by passion, as well as even if it means traveling abroad or learning language skills, be open to the idea. Yeah, learning new cultures, be open to the idea, and make the steps right now with that with that futuristic vision in mind. So I hope these 2 points will make you realize what is it that you would like to, for the question that Priya has mentioned.
Right. Thank you so much. We've been tracking the Global Innovation Index quite closely,
Mhm,
and Germany leads, of course, as the most innovative country, while India is ranked 52.
mhm.
Would you like to share the stark differences that you noticed when you relocated to Germany from Pune around 2 years ago?
Yes, yes. So one thing that I would say is the in the culture very distinct is the discipline,
Okay.
and the second thing is the passion for perfection. There is an innate passion for perfection in whatever the person profile he or she has, to do it to the 100% perfection. When I talk of discipline, it's not just about discipline as a working individual or as an innovator. It's discipline in general. uh, uh, Let me give you an example. With the social distancing, when the social distancing was announced, though we do not have a lockdown here in Germany, there is, let's say, like you have to maintain a 2-meter distance with anybody you meet, or there is a social distancing rule of two
Right.
meters. So there have been hardly any cases of violating these rules. Whereas in India, every other day you hear something or the other. So this is when I talk about discipline. This is when I talk about self constraint, or self uh, having that say over, okay, what is good for me, and this is for me in the long run very good. So that sustainable discipline is what I would say is very much different here. The second point I mentioned was the passion for perfection. In India, I would not say that there is always imperfection or anything, but we do come from that mindset of the jugaad mindset,
Mm.
yeah, a quick fix mindset. So here, the culture also accepts and appreciates that straightforwardness, where we say, okay, we look at what it means to achieve that 100% perfection, and weigh given the current scenarios, do we need that perfection? If yes, what is the cost for that perfection? What is the investment? And then weigh, okay, what is it that we would like to do otherwise? This negotiation, this retrospection of what is it that we need for achieving that perfection, sometimes fails in the Indian context. We tend to take the quick fix solution, irrespective of what resources we have, irrespective of what constraints we have, and that is something which I would say is innate in the German working culture. Yeah.
Sure.
So
Sure.
these 2 points are, and I, as a working individual, I learned that this perfection, this passion for perfection, was something which was so innate. It is something which drives the culture here. In the initial times, I would not understand when I would get to, had to rework some of my own assignments or some of my own tasks for perfection. But later, when I got to know what is it that is driving this passion, I was so appreciative of this tendency, or of this quality of perfection. So that's something which we as a global community, as an innovator community, can build on and can learn from, to have that passion for perfection.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Meghna. Birapadra Mahakud would want to know, what are the industry sectors where innovation is actively taking place in Siemens?
So from my from whatever let's say spread I have, or whatever network I have, the we are industry based. I mean, I am working with the industrial application sector, or the department there, and the the industrial innovations that are taking place are also in the same areas as I mentioned earlier: augmented reality, virtual reality, additive manufacturing, and a lot of other, I would say, trends that are in the market. Artificial intelligence, anything specific is not on the cards. It is, we are also in a exploratory phase and co-creation. So it's a lot of activities with the technology advancements and the technology trends that are currently offered.
Sure. Do you think that there is an innovative model of conceptualization, like the table that you have shown, that the college can incorporate in a course for all the disciplines for better ideation? Maybe you would like to kind of go back to your slides. Shall I repeat the question?
Yes, please repeat. I'll just display the matrix again.
Sharon Pillay would like to know, do you think that there is an innovative model of conceptualization, like the table that you have shown, that the college can incorporate in a course for all the disciplines for better ideation?
I would say this is something which is having a very constricted view. I would say a better idea would be to have a brainstorming with industry person, inviting him or her there and collecting this myriad of ideas. This is just a one person, or I would say this is a very constricted view of the entire thing. So yes, the idea is can be elaborated. The audience and the results, or the inputs and the output, will vary. So I support and I advocate this idea, but the approach, the how approach, could be in the form of having a brainstorming, or even having an ideation hackathon, where you look at what are the potential ideas and having a evaluation criteria for those ideas to take shape. Because having just a landscape is the starting point. Getting to the outcome, which is a business oriented outcome, or which is for the community good at large, is much more pursuable as a goal from a institution perspective. So I would say this is the starting point, and it can be extended, elaborated from the institution. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. We'll, again, back to the same slide.
Yes.
What are the stark differences, according to you, related to the medical sector when you relocated? For example, let's say first we'll talk about the medical sector and then the education sector.
Yes.
Between
Yes.
India and Germany.
Okay. Okay. So here from the medical sector, there is everybody who is in Germany has either a private insurance or a public insurance. It is a compulsory. It is mandatory, and a part of our earnings goes into this insurance, whether you want it or not. And this is something which is let's say a government defined percentage which you contribute for the medical insurance. Okay, so this is the first difference that you come across from the medical perspective, from the medical insurance perspective. Okay, the second aspect with the excellence that is there, the infrastructure, the devices, the methodology that we have here in Germany is much more advanced. Obviously, the scale at which the population is in India is different, but it is comparable with private hospitals and very, I would say, very renowned hospitals. There is, in the same time, on the business model, I would say a lot of change required. Health is not incentivized right now in neither of the countries.
Okay.
When we talk of medical insurance, a person who has lived an unhealthy life is not incentivized when he shifts to a healthy life. He is attracted by giving him offerings from the insurance company, but when he has it over a sustainable time, or a person who is already having a healthy lifestyle and having a fit body, and is having a disease-free body, is not at all incentivized in either of the systems. In India, you have that choice in which you choose what kind of medical insurances you would like to take, depending on your health and depending on the health condition. However, in Germany, this is like it's the same overall. Whether you are fit or healthy, you would be having the same medical insurance type. So in both countries, health and fitness is not so much incentivized as it should be when we talk of business model reinvention. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's the 2 points I would like to mention about the medical. And then you also mentioned about education.
Education.
Or yes,
Yeah.
yes. So from the education perspective, I would say that when it comes to, especially yet now, when we talk about the social distancing topic, and when we talk about the need to be remote working, or having a remote work atmosphere, the student to teacher specific topic, I would say, is something which is not as advanced as in America. Right now, my child, when he goes through the homeschooling, we do not have any clear tools for having video content or any tutoring mechanism. It is more the counterparts of in America, or the parents in America, who would have specific tools which are prescribed by the schools or by the government agencies, which can be taken up for video content, for having that video content, generating video content, or tutoring for such homeschooling needs. So I would say Germany is lacking on these developments when it comes to video content, tutoring, as well as having that student-teacher engagement, or even talking about exploring the virtual reality related advancements for creating virtual labs. So this is something which is not yet available in the education sector in Germany, whereas in America it is. In India, it is seen in I would say the metros that we have. We do have such content generation going on. However, this is happening only in small pockets and very limited to those sectors who are aware of such advancements. We in India, we still have the problem where we are not having good internet bandwidth or network, so we cannot say that this can be rolled out in India across across different cities. So this is where we, from the infrastructure perspective, can proactively look at how this can, how such tools can be catering to for the needs of metros or cities where such infrastructure and such network bandwidth is already available. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Right, right.
Yes.
Can you elaborate an innovation which happened in your organization with respect to the model you had explained, which is why, how, what? Most importantly, how the customer need was translated into business innovation.
Okay, yeah. So let me bring the slide to this. Yeah. So just to give a small example of how it translated, we had this particular product. I mean, I will just give a broad perspective what this product is. So we had this particular product where there was a need to put the when we talk about labels for products are specifically with the vendor logo, as well as the design which the vendor requires of. And um, so it's a very, I would say, it's a template which the vendor wishes to customize for himself or herself. And there was a need, particularly because earlier the labels were, let's say, generic in nature. And when this need arose from the customer perspective, that we would want a logo which is having our a label which is having our logo with the text, the way we design it, with the font size and everything which is custom made. So this particular requirement came into the product management workflow as a customer specific requirement. And once this requirement was analyzed, we realized as the product development team, from the innovation perspective, okay, this requires us to design a feature which is not yet in our product offering. And this feature was something related to reimagining the face of the particular label. So you can call it face labeling, or you can call this feature as a label face label feature. So face label feature was something which was not in the offering, but from a technical perspective, it required a lot of understanding of what features the customer is looking at. Is he looking at only text? Is it looking at icon? Is it looking at a combination of all? So this gave us an opportunity to begin a customer journey, or to begin a co-creation with the customer to design this face label. And once this journey was over, I would say it took us 1.5 years to really give not a customer-centric solution, but this feature as a face label to in the Siemens product that we have, to entire genre of customers who would want to harness this feature. So to summarize, first we analyzed what the need was, went into a co-creation to analyze, to understand what the customer requires. Based on this template with the pilot customer, then a generic feature was designed. And this entire journey from a Siemens product lifecycle took almost 1.5 years. As the near term goal was getting the pilot customer happy with developing the feature to his needs. And in the long run, the 1.5 year journey was actually getting that feature integrated as a generic feature for all users in the next release of the product.
Sure.
Yes.
Nice. As you say about additive manufacturing, can you elaborate more about efficiency than conventional manufacturing in terms of time and design?
Like we are reading the question about additive manufacturing, and it says, can you elaborate more on how efficiency of additive manufacturing compares with the conventional manufacturing, and especially how post-COVID Siemens is trying to deal with it or scaling it?
Okay. So this is a topic which is not in my area of I would say purview right now. I would before I can comment on this, I would need to dig deep and get you the authentic data on this topic. So
we'll skip it and maybe take it offline sometime.
We'll take it offline.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Professor Desai, while you're here, in fact, I think there are a question or two which you might like to attempt as well. There's one which says that, when you said that businesses will need to reinvent business models,
Yeah.
they have a query related to the education sector. They say that already the students are affected by the pandemic in terms of break in curriculum and also hiring at large. How can the universities help in this case? Is there anything that you'd like to share your views on?
See, I think everybody was kind of looking at this whole online education in some or the other way, and there was always a option that I may use a online medium to educate people at different levels, or I can continue with the conventional way, and business as usual was continuing. So recently, I read one of the most insightful jokes or memes on this, and it said that who is driving digital transformation in your organization, whether it's the CEO, is it the CTO, or is it the Corona? So I think most of the answers were leaning towards that. Yeah, because of this pandemic, everybody is either by force or by choice, they are adopting online as a medium more and more aggressively, and education is no exception to that. In fact, if you look at it from a scalability point of view, education is well poised to adopt many of these online practices, and many of us have already started our measures and directions in that space. So yeah, I think in a way it's good that finally it is happening, and we'll see more of innovations built on the online platform, which lead to different kind of offerings coming out from universities, different delivery methods being tried out with kind of a hybrid model, and it may lead to a very different paradigm altogether, because the scale and the flexibility which the online medium offers, I think that is unparalleled compared to what we otherwise could be able to achieve in a conventional setup. Yeah, so that's my view.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess the digital transformation of the education sector has also been accelerated by the new CXO, COVID-19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
So,
new CS.
right. So there's another question by participant Maitri. She would like to know your opinion. This is for you, Meghna. She'd like to know your opinion on the concept of open sourcing information or educations for citizens in Europe. How and on what terms do they contribute in growth of individual as well as globally?
Okay, just maybe a clarification. When we talk about open source, that is she's referring to the MOOCs and the online courses, right? Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So okay, so my individual experience has been that there is a lot of offering or a lot of noise which is there when it comes to open source availability of course materials, but as an individual, when you are looking for that particular when you are searching for that particular source or content, you have to be tuned to what content what content do I choose, because there is so much content available, and there might be actually a lot of confusion created with this. So at the individual level, I would say yes, be open to it, but use your own intelligence, or use your own sensitivity to understand how much what this content is leading you to, and how much relevant it is for you, for your profile or for your professional growth. Globally, yes, also within Siemens, we do have learning platforms similar to the online Coursera or the different platforms that are there, Udemy. We do have this internal to the organization, and a lot of thrust has been given to use this potential, use those times when you have those free cycles during the day, to invest time to hone your skills. And I would recommend this also from an individual perspective as well as from a global organization's perspective, that this is something which needs to be looked more and more to upskill and continuously reskill the generations, the working generations, for the next challenges to come, be it in the areas of non-technical skills or be it related with technical skills.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll take this last question. You mentioned about the product innovation that took 18 months.
Yes.
Do you think in such a long time there might be some evolution in the user need? If yes, then how do we overcome it?
Yeah. See, this is a very important question, and before, I mean, the 18 months time frame, even before we dwelled on the 18 months time frame, we spent quite a lot of time in understanding what the problem was. So like there is this famous saying, 95% of the time you invest in understanding the problem, and 5% when you do that, then 5% of the time you actually have to invest in the solution. So from the industry perspective, a lot of thought flew into this 1.5 years phase to understand what the actual problem was. Yeah. So for me, I mean, I hope that with this point, I make it clear that it is not that, okay, it's a go, no go decision just like that, and you convert that requirement into a feature. A lot of thought, there is a continuous engagement to understand what the problem is, and then does it translate into a feature, a full-fledged feature. So there is no clear, of course there is a decision making that we go and or you stop with the feature, but before this point comes, there are a lot of phases where you want to discover, where you negotiate, where you engage, where you ask, where you open your minds to really understanding, is this what the customer wants, is there a quick fix, is there something that we can bring off the shelf. A lot of thought goes into it. So yeah, the 1.5 years is the entire duration when the entire journey took place. So the actual development cycle, once the resources are available, it's just a matter of a team of engineers working for 3 to 4 months to make this available, and then the test phase and everything. So this is how we ensuring the customer engagement takes place during this 1.5 years. You make sure that you are actually addressing the customer problem and not doing something which you think might help the customer. Yeah, and there happens a commitment also once you have the go decision, because the customer has committed to this. So yeah, so this is not a linear process. It's a incremental process.
Sure. Thank you, Meghna. So for more questions which are coming up, I request the participants to reach out to me offline on LinkedIn. We'll conclude this webinar here. A round of thanks to our participants for joining us today. Special thanks to our guest speaker, Ms. Meghana Pote, for her time and sharing her valued insights. I'd like to invite you all to our next webinar. Please save the date. It's Monday, 27th April, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Our guest speaker is Mr. Neeraj Athalye, Vice President, Innovation and Digital Strategy Group, SAP, who will be talking about India 4.0. So please register soon for this webinar. The promotions and the registrations link have been shared across our various social channels. Please refer to your mailboxes for links to the same. Limited seats available, of course. For those who tuned in late, we encourage you to connect with us. And we'd also like to inform that MIT stands for the 4-decade-old Maharashtra Institute of Technology. ID stands for MIT's 15-year-old Pioneering Institute of Design. And this webinar, which has been brought to you by the MIT ID's first one-year program, focuses on the 4 pillars of design, business, technology, humanities. Back to Meghna. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes,
thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, and all the best to you and your team.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yes,
yeah.
Thank you.
So everyone stay connected, stay safe, stay home, and keep innovating every day. See you around.